Some of the most interesting parts of my flight took place right when we left the United States, and I've flown a lot all across the country, but the moment that we departed from Miami and we were on our way towards Trinidad and Tobago and then eventually into Natal, Brazil, that's when it really started feeling sort of exotic. You know, we were flying into airspace that was very unconventional for me. I was flying over the Caribbean islands, seeing the coastlines of Brazil, so gorgeous. And the terrain was different, the communications were different. And even though English is the international language for aviation, it did not feel like we were speaking English. So dealing with accents and different ways of customs and different ways of even just simple as fueling once we got on the ground. Those are some of the adventures we had. But beyond that, one of the most challenging parts of the trip was flying through Papua New Guinea because they're not very used to seeing women pop out of beautiful airplanes like the Pilatus PC-12. So it took a while to come to terms with what was happening on the ground, but we eventually made it through. When it came to planning the flight, I gave myself a year and a half to put it all together, and that seems like a long time to do something as simple as plan 16 stops along a route, but when you go international, you've got to think about things like overflight permits. You've got to get clearance into each and every country that you fly into. You've got to apply for visas, and I was doing that not only for myself, but also for my co-pilot, Shane Jordan. You've got to think about fuel situations. So through the South Pacific, you know, will there even be enough of a supply of fuel at that time of year? The fuel comes in on ships from Fiji to areas like Kiribati. So if the fuel is out, you know, we could have had to stay there. So we had to plan all of those things in advance. We also had to study the climate around the globe and around the equator because the weather patterns are so different once you get into that time of year, June and July, and also around the widest point of the Earth. So that's why we took off at sunrise. I had planned us to depart at sunrise each and every morning. So I saw the sunrise around the whole globe, but it also kept us away from that heating that you see with thunderstorm buildups around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. For me right now, it's all about helping other young women get into their own adventures. So working with the foundation, getting girls in airplanes, getting them flying, and I'm also writing a book about the flight, and that'll tell the behind-the-scenes story of what happened start to finish, and that's an adventure for me because I've never done it, and that's the whole point. Anything you decide is an adventure can become an adventure. It's just your perspective on how you view it. I would just like to say a very special hello to all the aviators and aviatrix in Colombia. You've got such a beautiful landscape to fly over. I would just encourage you to get out there and have that first flight experience. If you're already a pilot, bring somebody else flying with you and share some of that joy. And if you've never gone up before, that first discovery flight is all it takes to take you all the way around the world.